Hello and welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we take a look at the activities of Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa over the past week. And we see he began his week in Mortis, this Maikoni, Mahaika area, and he engaged with farmers, giving them assurances about government's plans for the area, and indeed ensuring that agriculture development is equally rolled out across the country. He also visited Region 1 and again interacted with farmers. He engaged in some of the flood relief rollout in that region and of course listened to farmers and their concerns there, promising again to continue engaging with them to ensure that agriculture development takes place there and that a diversified approach to agriculture is realized by those farmers with the help of government. Later in the week, the minister was the guest of honor at the presentation of the GMSA, and of course we'll bring you highlights of that presentation. Later on Saturday, he visited the East Bank of Berbice, again interacting with farmers, giving them assurances, distributing flood relief monies to those who were missed in the first round of distribution that took place in that region, in that area, And of course, after those engagements, he would have interacted with the farmers, again giving assurances for support in their endeavors, ensuring that agriculture development happens across the country in a sustained manner. This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising based in East Berbice. We will be back after these messages. African swine fever is a highly contagious disease of domestic and wild pigs that is characterized by high fever, bleeding, and death within 2 to 10 days. African swine fever has been recorded in some countries of Africa, Asia, and Europe, and recently in the Dominican Republic in the Americas. Guyana is free of this devastating disease, but there is a risk for the disease introduction due to global movement of people, animals, and animal products. African swine fever is spread when pigs come into contact with contaminated pork products, feed, syringes, and infected materials, such as pigs and ticks. Pork products can carry the virus, even if they have been cooked or frozen. Humans can carry the virus on their clothing and footwear and may infect pigs that they come into contact with. Before traveling, know the disease status of the country you are visiting. Do not visit pig farms while in African swine fever affected countries. Travelers from affected countries are advised not to bring back food, pork, and pork products. Remember to properly clean, wash, and disinfect your clothing and footwear prior to returning or visiting Guyana. If you are arriving from an ASF-infected country, kindly report same to the quarantine officer on arrival and do not go near pig farms for 7 days. For further information, contact the Guyana Livestock Development Authority on telephone number 220-6556 or 7, fax 220-6557, or email glda1910@gmail.com. The Ministry of Agriculture is warning members of the public that it is illegal to dump garbage of any kind near to or into drainage and irrigation waterways across the country. The NDIA, the agency tasked with the maintenance of drainage and irrigation in Guyana, has noted that there is an alarming increase in the incidence of garbage getting into DNI waterways and causing blockages in the first instance. But worse than that, the garbage that includes clothing, rotting carcasses, pieces of wood and metal gets past protective grills of the critical mobile and fixed pumps, resulting in damage to the pumps, which have to be taken out of service for repairs, placing communities at risk, especially during the rainy season. The Ministry of Agriculture notes that when this happens, millions have to be spent on repairs to the pumps and on clearing the canals of debris thrown there by irresponsible citizens. The ministry warns that rangers of the NDIA will be on the lookout for those engaging in this illegal practice. Persons caught will be made to face the full force of the law. A message from the NDIA Ministry of Agriculture. Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. The work of Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa for week ending Saturday, September 25, began with an engagement with farmers at Maikoni, where the minister engaged with farmers about issues affecting them and their community. Issues raised by farmers there had to do with the recent flood loss assessment and flood relief disbursements in the area, with farmers alleging that though they suffered losses, they were either assessed incorrectly or not assessed at all. After listening to the complaints of the residents, the minister assured that his government is committed to ensuring that everyone who are deserving of government's flood relief assistance will receive same.
Now, as Minister of Agriculture, I have asked a committee, first of all, to look at the data that were collected by our extension officers. And we have 3 categories, you all know that: livestock, cash crop, and rice. Also, there were people who would have lost household equipment and appliances, and NARI would have captured some of those persons. But generally, comrades, person who would have lost in these 3 categories, what I just mentioned, cash crop, livestock, and rice, those were the dominant set of persons who would have received or who should have received grant. If you all notice also, there are many areas that we had started this process, I roll out the flood relief grant. And this area here, you know for a fact that we started out firstly in the eastern part of this region, from Bath going back to Ithaca. And I was allowing the team to work so that we can have a sanitized list of persons who should have received relief. The list came, and then we roll out the flood relief. But then now we are hearing a number of issues, a number of concerns. We are hearing that people who should not have received. We are hearing that people who should have received that didn't receive the amount. We heard that I am hearing. I am hearing that people who receives wrong amount and things like that. So we can't make generalized statement. We have to get down to proper facts. And I don't want to dispute anybody here this morning. That is not my job here, who I came here for this morning. What I came here for this morning is to put a mechanism in place so that those persons who would have had questions, who have queries, who want to ensure that they get a fair deal, that's the mechanism I want to put in place here this morning. And we have senior persons in the region, especially those persons who were assessed in the rice for the rice relief. We had senior persons, we had persons with experience, people who went through the list. A number of meetings were held, various areas they went through. Assessments were done by the extension officers. Assessments were done by representatives of the farmers. And based on all those assessments, all those data collections, then we had a final list and we decided to pay. You all know the categories also. We said when the president made that announcement of allocating resources to the flood relief for all the 10 regions in our country, it was based on the data that were gathered by the extension officers. And then we had to go back and look at the list, do a lot of sanitizing of the list, do a lot of verification. And whilst we are doing those verification, we are coming up with the relief measures to roll out in the various areas. In the rice sector, we had 3 categories of persons who should have been given relief. And if you notice, I'm not saying compensated or compensation, I am saying relief. Because for me, this is not a compensation, this is a government relief for farmers to get back as quickly as possible to the land. That is our aim, to start back production immediately.
The agriculture minister told the residents that the flood relief effort undertaken by government is a massive one that has involved a multitude of stakeholders in and outside of government. And while it has been the wish that there be a seamless rollout of the disbursements to deserving citizens, the reality is that there have been problems that are being addressed in a timely manner so as to achieve the ultimate goal, that of getting farmers back on their feet and planting again.
We are not working with an established register, like the school cash grant that are rolling out. We have an established register. All those persons who are attending a particular school will receive from that school. But this here, we have to do a list. We have to build a list. And then we are depending on organizations like the GRDB, GLDA, NARI, and also farmers to help us to develop this list. And based on those guidance, we have developed a list. And we need farmers also. We need farmers to be honest too. I agree that there were some persons who might not have received. And there are persons who would have received and not entitled. And there are persons who receive and still coming back to make query. Putting their wife, because let me give you all an example. I was at a place in Bushlat last Friday, whilst my colleague was in Karamat, Vikram, and Mr. Edghill was on the roadside. A guy came up to me. He said his father received $9 million, but his mother not received none. I said, but your mother and your father not live together? He said, yeah, they're living together, but they're planting separately. But just show you the kind of way. You know, we got to be honest, comrade. This is not a thing to make money. This here, the government is extending this relief to our farmers. And all of us should be work to ensure that we have transparency and accountability. And I want to assure you here this morning, this is an assurance from me, that those persons who would have wrongly assessed will be reassessed to ensure that they receive the correct amount. I will ensure that happens. Secondly, those persons who did not receive, they will have to receive. As long as they lost, we'll have to ensure that we develop a mechanism like that. So what I am about to say is that I don't know how many persons are affected. We have to do a list of those persons who has not received or who didn't receive the right amount. We'll have to do that list. After that, we'll have to do back a verification. So I want amongst yourselves now, I put in the ball back into the farmers' court. I want the farmers to elect 3 representatives this morning. Those persons who are here, we will take back the names now today, and immediately I will ask the various agencies to start work immediately. So within 1 week time from now, we can finish the verification and map up the area.
The agriculture minister and team also met with residents of Mortis Maikoni, where his message was similar in nature. He also promised a number of interventions to help farmers advance their agricultural pursuits in the area. On Thursday, the agriculture minister, accompanied by colleague minister within the Ministry of Public Works, Mr. Deodat Indar, visited the community of Namrik, Baktam, where he listened to the issues of farmers in the area. These issues were not constrained to agriculture, but covered general issues such as bad roads and general infrastructural improvements. The minister assured the residents that major projects in relation to roads and general infrastructure are already in the pipeline. The agriculture minister also assured farmers that government's flood relief program for deserving farmers will be rolled out soon in the region. The Agriculture Minister and a high-level team from the Ministry of Agriculture traveled to Region 1 during the week, where they interacted with residents of several communities, including Kumaka, Wauna, Kamwata, and Whitewater. At the end of the various meetings, residents expressed satisfaction at the assurances they were given.
Yeah, I like how the Minister, Brian Mentor from Wong the scheme. I just like how the Minister addressed the community, that he can give us a little bit of help that we lost. Because I was grateful for the help.
Can you tell me a bit about the losses you would have faced?
Yes, through the flood, I lost my baby chickens, like 3 days old and everything, and so the water just come and wash down the pen. A set of bora, 100 bank of bora just destroy.
I'm Lennox Williams from Wong Sugar Hill. I lose catch crop, some live bird. So I glad for the little assist right now because the thing, the rain come destroy, but then I plant, but it come like how it's supposed to come, and right now the insect destroying the whole of the crop, like what I got right now I plant back. I plant, yes, but it didn't come in, like from before anymore. So I glad, for some assistance right now because it's rough for me part because I lose all what I have.
During an address to residents in Kumaka, the Agriculture Minister stressed that there must be a new approach to the business of agriculture. They must all embrace a smarter form of agriculture and seek to add value to produce and thereby improve their income-generating potential.
Also, what we are doing too, this year alone, 2021, this year, we are investing in almost 9 agro-processing facilities across the country. You know that is what? The comrade talk about primitive agriculture. Well, I just call it subsistence, not primitive, because we move a little from primitive. Right? Primitive is too old-fashioned, too old. That's the forced form of agriculture. Extra old. Right? It starts with society and talk from primitive, and it move on right on to capitalism and socialism, right? If you go through the stages of society. Now, comrades, I have been saying this thing all the time. What we are doing in this country is subsistence farming. From the farm, you know for a fact as soon as you reap the produce, it gone to the market. Sometimes you go and you get a little or nothing for your produce at the market, and you come back. The comrade talk just now that you pay so much money to take your produce to the market, even if you get nothing and you get money to come back, you have to bunk with somebody for a week. And then go back to the market to see if you lock or run and if you sell again. But even that, you might not make a profit. You might just break even or sell it for less of the cost because you just want some money. We can't continue to work like that. If we want to develop the agriculture sector, we can't continue like that. That is why we are building these agro-processing facilities. Right here at Kamaka, we have built one this year. And we will build more in Region 1. The regional chairman is working very closely with us. We will identify areas where we will build these facilities. Now, what is this? What these facilities will be doing? Now, these facilities that we are building, we'll put staff it, and farmers can take their produce there. Their produce, when they go there, will make their produce more value added. Rather than taking your produce directly to the market, you take it to the agro-processing facility, the packaging plant that we have. Now, your produce will be packaged attractively and we will find market for it. So instead of you going to the farm and you sell a peanut, say if you're selling by gallon or how you're selling it, you get a pound. You're selling a pound for $20, if I use that figure. When this package and it come attractive, you're getting 4 times $80 a pound. And you've been exported overseas. We'll have regular transportation. So what we'll be doing, for example, I talk about this example and I've been talking about it all the time. You have people are packaging our produce right here in Guyana and it's on the shelf in North America, places like United States, Canada. For example, the same sweet potato. When we go to the market, we buy sweet potato, you get the skin on, you get mud on it and so. The same sweet potato, there's a guy who clean it properly, peel it, package it, put it in a nice label bag. It's in North America. When you go there and you look at it, Guyana sweet potato. You want to know where this thing, which part of Guyana this thing come from, you never see it and you're living in Guyana. That's the kind of way, attractiveness we're talking about. So we will help you to ensure that you get those, you get those facilities.
On Friday, Minister Mustafa was the featured speaker at a business luncheon hosted by the Guyana Manufacturers and Services Association, GMSA, during which he spoke of agriculture development in the context of Guyana's emerging oil and gas industry. The minister told those gathered that government is well advanced in its efforts at repositioning Guyana's agriculture sector to be more resilient to the impacts of climate change, to be more responsive to the requirements of local and international markets, that is, inclusive of the standards and general criteria governing access to those markets. The improvement of drainage and irrigation and the incorporation of smart agriculture technology are all measures that have already been implemented. One area in which government is looking towards is the establishment of mechanisms through which farmers can be provided with crop insurance.
Guyana currently holds, as I said, lead responsibility for agriculture, agricultural diversification and food security in CARICOM. And President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali in February this year, as I said, presented to CARICOM heads of government a paper advancing the CARICOM agri-food systems agenda, prioritizing regional food and nutrition security for transforming the agriculture sector in CARICOM. As chair of the Special Ministerial Task Force on Food Production and Food Security, I have been engaging both the Caribbean private sector organization and our local private sector to identify areas that we can work together. Also, as chair of the Special Ministerial Task Force on Food Production and Food Security, I assure you the vision and mission of the GMSA are closely aligned with the thrust of the Special Ministerial Task Force, whose main objective is to provide guidance on the transformation of the agri-food system that is resilient, provides attractive and sustainable wealth creation opportunities for potential investors, and guarantees food and nutrition security for the region. We recognize that this desired transformation of the regional agri-food system towards full commercialization requires the active participation of the regional private sector. In this regard, the Special Ministerial Task Force collaborates closely with CARICOM Private Sector Organization, CAPSO, an associate institution of the Caribbean community invited by the Conference of Heads of Government to engage in a formal and structured manner with the organs of the Caribbean community in an effort to secure the full implementation of the CARICOM single market and economy. The Special Ministerial Task Force has committed to support CAPSO in an effort to develop and target regional investments and inter-regional trade in the identified priority commodities of poultry and niche vegetables in the immediate term, and to give special attention to other strategic commodities in the near to medium term, same being corn, soya, rice, meat, which include beef, sheep and goat, dairy, and coconuts. Guyana, being particularly resource-rich, is targeted as a natural destination for many of these investments. Over the last month, the Special Ministerial Task Force has been proactive in initiating dialogue with regional and strategic entities and is subject particularly of the de-risking of the regional agriculture sector. In this regard, the Ministerial Task Force has received presentation on a possible agricultural insurance product for the region. And this is very important for us because many times farmers suffer losses as presently now we are now rolling out flood relief to farmers across the country because there is no insurance policy to take care of the losses that farmers would have suffered. Now in the Ministerial Task Force, we already have this company is working closely in Jamaica, and we are looking to bring this Caribbean country into line so that we can have this company also look at areas in Guyana and other parts in the Caribbean. Also, we had discussion for a proposed sustainable Caribbean finance facility for the establishment of a $10 billion sustainable finance facility for the Caribbean to support agricultural investment by 2035. I am very pleased to report as the chair of this ministerial task force that a subcommittee is currently being established specifically to address opportunities for establishing a similar agriculture insurance product on a regional scale and for advancing the proposal for the Sustainable Caribbean Finance Facility.
Finally, on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, we tell you that on Saturday, the Agriculture Minister and team traveled to the East Bank of Berbice, where the ministry spearheaded the continuation of the flood relief grant to farmers there. The meeting was held at the Escape Mode Primary School at Mara, East Bank Berbice. Apart from the distribution of the flood relief monies, the Agriculture Minister also listened to the issues affecting residents on the East Bank. The Minister has since promised a number of major drainage works and critical upgrades to the road and to agriculture infrastructure in the communities along the East Bank Berbice corridor. The Ministry of Agriculture is warning members of the public that it is illegal to dump garbage of any kind near to or into drainage and irrigation waterways across the country. The NDIA, the agency tasked with the maintenance of drainage and irrigation in Guyana, has noted that there is an alarming increase in the incidence of garbage getting into DNI waterways and causing blockages in the first instance. But worse than that, the garbage that includes clothing, rotting carcasses, pieces of wood and metal gets past protective grills of the critical mobile and fixed pumps, resulting in damage to the pumps, which have to be taken out of service for repairs, placing communities at risk, especially during the rainy season. The Ministry of Agriculture notes that when this happens, millions have to be spent on repairs to the pumps and on clearing the canals of debris thrown there by irresponsible citizens. The ministry warns that rangers of the NDIA will be on the lookout for those engaging in this illegal practice. Persons caught will be made to face the full force of the law. A message from the NDIA Ministry of Agriculture. Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. As you know, the next time we see each other, we will be beginning the observances for Agriculture Month 2021. A whole range of events scheduled for this month, the majority of which will be held virtually. We'll be seeing the inner workings of the various agencies of the Ministry of Agriculture, partner agencies, all showcasing their work in support of government's efforts at ensuring that our agricultural endeavors are diversified and, most of all, successful in realizing wealth-generating possibilities for all engaged in this sector. Until next time, then, I'm Christopher Holt on behalf of the entire production unit. Sing so long. See you around.